Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome back to Children's Time. Now, last week we talked about how God gave the victories to the Israelites over the 5 kings. Then the Israelites continued to win over the southern and the northern cities throughout Canaan. In every battle, God was with his people. I don't know about you, but up to this point, have you ever wondered, why does the Bible talk so much about wars and killings and conquering cities? This is actually a very good but hard question. Now, some people have went on to study about the times of the Israelites, and they found out that the Canaanites were sinning against God. Their sin was that they worshipped false gods and idols. So what does that mean? They started making these statues and gods out of wood, silver, and gold, and thinking that they were actually gods that could protect them, and they started worshiping them. They even went as far as harming their own children as a way to please the gods. Now, this doesn't sound very right, at least not what God has wanted. And God didn't want to see this happen anymore. Although he loved the people that he created very much, he was also a just God. He takes sin very seriously. He's like a good parent. He will not let his own children hurt themselves and each other and just standing on the side and saying that's okay. Now, just because Joshua and the Israelites have gone through these many battles that God has commanded them, doesn't mean that God has agreed to all the human wars that we've seen throughout history. But specifically, in Joshua's time, God has used the Israelites in taking over the land as a way to end the sin of the Canaan people. So chapter 12 was a list of all the kings that Joshua and the Israelites has defeated on the west side of the Jordan River. Now, Joshua was old, and God reminded him of an unfinished task to divide the land for the Israelites. So God told him how to divide the lands for all the tribes of Israel. There were 12. And how God himself will continue to help the people to win over the cities that they haven't conquered yet. So chapter 12, all the way to 22, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 20, 21 is a long instruction on God telling Joshua how to divide the lands properly. Now for us, it's more like reading a map without pictures. It's a little challenging. But the point is that this is important because God was fulfilling his promise to Abraham all the way back in Genesis chapter 12, verse 17. Go check it out. These few chapters tell us that God fulfills his promise and not one single bit was left out. So after a long time, God gave his people rest from the battle. Joshua had his words of farewell to the people. He reminded them that God has never failed to keep his promise, and that being his people, it was important that they too don't forget to keep their special agreement with God, which is the covenant. Let's read Joshua chapter 23, verse 9 to 11 and 14. Can I borrow that? And it says, "The Lord has driven out great and powerful nations to make room for you. To this very day, no one has been able to fight against you and win. One of you can chase 1,000 away, and that's because the Lord your God fights for you, just as he promised he would." And verse 14, "The Lord your God has kept all of the good promises he gave you. Every one of them has come true. Not one has failed to come true, and you know that with all your heart and soul." Joshua helped the Israelites to remember what God has done for them. Let's use today to remember what God has done for us. How has God been speaking to you or letting you know and helping you along the way? God is our leader when things go super duper 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 hard. Even if it means that we don't have to go through battles, we may be struggling with something very hard in our homes or at school, with our friends or with our neighbors. But boys and girls, remember, God's promise for us never fails. He fulfills every single promise that he gave us, and we can trust him. All right, turn to the person next to you and answer the following questions together. It's question time. Who led the Israelites to victory in all of their battles? Joshua, Moses, or God? How many kings were in the defeated kings list in chapter 12? 10, 100, or 31? Why did God allow the Israelites to fight the Canaanites in battles? The Israelites needed land. The Canaanites were sinning by worshiping false gods. It is okay to fight your neighbors. What was Joshua's farewell to the leaders? He reminded them of God's promise and to carefully obey God. He reminded them of the law at Sinai. He reminded them of how to divide the land. Let's read our verse of the day. Joshua 23, verse 10 to 11. That's because the Lord your God fights for you, just as he promised he would. So be very careful to love the Lord your God.